Can somebody help me here? Can somebody help me? Because I'm having one hell of a fucking time here.
Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible. I am what it says I am. I have what it says I have. I can do what it says I can do. Today I will be taught the Word of God. I boldly confess. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. I will never be the same. In Jesus' name, God bless you. I want to talk to you today about peace on purpose. If you want to live in peace, it's not going to happen by accident. Every day we have all the different ways to get upset, to be offended, to live for people get on their nerves, unexpected bills, a family member at the hospital. You can't wait for all your circumstances to calm down.
It's incredibly hypocritical for him to criticize Trump and now do the same thing. But if you ask me just about bans in general don't work. Almost nothing that man does works to slow down the spread of the virus. The vaccine works, and natural immunity. Everything else we've done could have possibly delayed it a little bit, but really probably has done little, if nothing, to changing the trajectory of things. Every time we've instituted a mandate, whether it be masks or social distancing or how many people can be at a restaurant or how late you can get a drink at a bar, none of this affected the trajectory of the virus. The virus has moved, the numbers of viral infections per day have moved regardless of what man has tried to do. Other than the vaccine was working pretty well in May of April, but now the vaccine isn't working so well and the virus is escaping it. So the one thing they could do, they're not doing, and that is we should allow for a new vaccine to be introduced. They have that waiting, but they're not doing anything to introduce the new vaccine. Why do they not introduce the new vaccine? You know, that's a good question. I think, well, maybe they bought a lot of the old one, they haven't used it up yet, and maybe they're trying to improve it. Maybe somebody has something invested in the old one. But the old one isn't working so well. It probably does reduce your risk of severe hospitalization still and death. But it's not really fighting off the virus at a level where we really could change the trajectory. In April and May of this year, we got down to less than 10,000 cases a day. We did that when the first vaccine was very, very effective. When we got the Delta variant, now that it dominates, the vaccine isn't as effective as it was. And we have a new vaccine. It's sitting there. We approved a new vaccine for the flu. They criticized Trump endlessly for, why isn't the vaccine? We got a vaccine within 1 year, and why aren't they doing anything to introduce a new vaccine or to get the red tape out of the way? Let's get the new vaccine out and see if that helps it.
It's a good point. The guy who made a living getting rid of red tape got rid of it. He gets no credit for it. Now they can't seem to do anything similar. Now that we're in the middle of it. You alluded to it, Senator, the fact that things that we did in 2019 don't match the reality of where we are in 2021. But one man's been there the entire time. You know him well, Dr. Anthony Fauci. He had an interview on Sunday where he declared that he represents science. Take a listen.
Anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people can recognize there's a person there, so it's easy to criticize. But they're really criticizing science, because I represent science.
He represents science. I'm feeling he might be talking about you, Senator.
When a government bureaucrat has the audacity, the arrogance to say they represent all of science, we should be running the other way. It conjures up images of the medieval church, and the repression of science. Science has nothing to do with having obedience to any kind of government dogma. And you have to realize that most of what Fauci talks about isn't science. He's not talking about a study on this or a study of that. He's talking about wear a mask. Well, when you talk about the peer-reviewed studies of masks, there was one done in Denmark, showed that it didn't work. When you look at all of Sweden, 1.8 million children have not been wearing masks for the last 2 years. They've had 0 COVID deaths. And you say, well, have the teachers been infected? Well, it turns out the teachers are infected at the same rate as the rest of the public. So they've had no mask for a year and a half, and it has worked, and that's a whole country. And there's no real discussion of this, because if you question him, and really that's public policy, that's not science, it's public policy backed by some science, But if you question him, somehow you are questioning science because he represents all science, that is incredibly arrogant.
It really is. It conjures up Sylvester Stallone, I am the law. You know, at one point it becomes completely absurd, and as you pointed out, very, very arrogant. Senator Rand Paul, thank you so much for breaking down actual science for us.
When pain says I'm here, I say so are they. Just one leap, 12 hours of uninterrupted relief. Please take it forward.
All right, here we go. No more vaccine mandates that are put in place around the country. One former Obama official taking it a step further, right? While flying, she says, vaccinated people should no longer carry the burden for unvaccinated people. A no-fly list for unvaccinated adults is an obvious step the federal government should take. Close quote. Really. But in a new op-ed, our next guest calls to choose freedom over mandates, lockdowns, and petty tyrants. GOP Senator Rand Paul joined us now. He sits on the Senate Health Committee, and he also takes on Anthony Fauci because no one else will. Senator, what's your take on this suggestion in the Atlantic? Obscene, that if we now disagree in our personal medical decisions with the left, they're going to declare that we're terrorists and we can't lie. But even from a practicality of it, even if you said, okay, we're going to do this, even the CDC says you're not supposed to get vaccinated if you've been infected within 3 months. So what are you going to do? Tell people they can't fly for 3 months, even according to the CDC? I and other doctors actually think that your immunity from being infected is going to last a lot longer. With the 2004 epidemic, people still have immunity. Spanish flu, there are people alive who still have immunity from 1918. So I do believe natural immunity should be taken into account. But even according to the CDC, this idiot would have us not flying for 3 months. So it makes no sense. It's complete collectivism. And all of these people are the same people who hooted and hollered and said, Trump is leading us to authoritarianism. What could be more authoritarian than a no-fly list for people who disagree with you? What about the vilification of people that want a choice, like Governor DeSantis, Governor Abbott? We're not going to make mass mandates. So now the president's going after the governors and the vaccinated. Why does he need to make an enemy of people? Well, I think that if you look objectively at mask mandates, whether it's in states, cities, counties, or countries, there's no correlation between a mask mandate and reduction in incidence of the disease. In fact, it's the opposite. The more mandates we got, the more of the disease we got. Now, I don't think the mask caused the disease, but I don't think the mask helped any. And in fact, most people are wearing cloth masks, and 97% of virus-sized particles go through cloth masks. So it's actually a disservice. When Dr. Fauci says, the mask is more important than the vaccine, that's malpractice. The vaccine is very important, so is natural immunity, but the cloth masks don't stop the disease. And if you're telling someone who's taking care of a COVID patient, like it's an elderly couple, and you're taking care of your husband or wife and they have COVID, and you're wearing a cloth mask, that's terrible advice. That's advice that will kill you. So Dr. Fauci needs to be away from government, away from advice, because almost all of his advice has been wrong-headed, but some of it's actually very dangerous.
Senator, and they can't handle you because you're a doctor. The other thing is Dr. Fauci is totally hamstrung because of his role with Peter Daszak and the origins of this virus, which is for another time. So COVID-19 cases in children are surging 84%. That according to the Academy of Pediatrics. They reported that on Wednesday. They did a study, and they said that those numbers are going up. Does that concern you?
The largest study of the Delta variant was in England a couple weeks ago, and they're a few weeks ahead of us. And they showed 0 deaths in vaccinated people under 50, and they showed 0.808% deaths in under 50 unvaccinated. That's about what we're getting for vaccinated here in our country. So even the unvaccinated have pretty well the Delta variant. It's very transmissible. People are going to get it. People have been vaccinated. People who have already had the disease are going to get the Delta variant, maybe again. But the good news is, while it's very transmissible, it's much less deadly.
And Senator, if you were telling me to get vaccinated, saying I'm the problem, or you're the problem, or the person watching is the problem, how can you do that and leave the southern border open to 1 plus million people since you took office, many of which test positive with COVID-19? You're totally compromised.
Yes, it's just pure hypocrisy. They're seeding people. They're taking kids from down to the border who may have it, and they're plucking them up and putting them all in the United States as if they're wishing to seed the country with a new variant. It's an awful thing to do. But the bottom line is, for those who are saying,